Hello again. It is Sunday, October 19th, and I just got done with, I guess I will call it an assembly, very first rough cut of three of the scenes. They're not the first three scenes because I've been editing since last Tuesday, I guess. And the last thing I edited made me chuckle intentionally. I mean, it's sort of funny, hopefully, in the movie. And that is the express reason that I decided to make this quick video. I have basically put together the first act plus a little, which I hope is about 22 to 25 pages or minutes. Now, gosh, I've been talking in pages for going on 3 years. So now when I talk about time, I need to talk about minutes. And one of the things that is just a given is that when you write something with a lot of dialogue, if you write 5 pages heavy dialogue, it's typically going to be 4, maybe 4.5 minutes, of course, depending on the pauses and all that kind of stuff. What we've had so far is not like rapid fire dialogue, but it's not like slow, ponderous, take a long time to think in between dialogue. And so while I have not put all of the pieces together, I feel like it's going pretty fast. Now, the good news is that there are a couple of montages in the movie that we could make really short. Well, we can make the first one really short because it's a car traveling with some people from point A to point B. I always get mixed up when I'm doing this on the computer because it's a mirror. It's not a mirror image. And so my hands are different. So right now I've got maybe 30 or 40 seconds of that. It could be 10 seconds. It could be a minute and a half, whatever. And then there's one later on, which is a more essential montage because things are actually happening as opposed to just a series of shots where you're showing a progression of time. The second montage is a progression of shots, but there are specific things happening. And even though there's no dialogue there, it's clearly, I mean, the actors are acting. It's not just like I'm showing the changing of the seasons or a car driving down the highway when there's nothing visually to look at except for the visuals. So I'm not concerned about what the total running time is going to be. I do want it to be, having just said that, I do want it to be at least 90 minutes because to me, 90 minutes plus credits really is what I consider the minimum for a feature film. I know a lot of animated films are a little shorter, 82, 83 minutes, and they're really good. I'm not saying they can't be good. And I've seen, maybe rom-coms probably, or horror movies could sometimes be shorter. The script as it finished was around 97 pages, but that had some padding in it because there were some duplicate lines of dialogue we weren't sure about. So I would say it's about a 95-page script. So I'm hoping it's going to be around 95 minutes. I don't really know why I'm hoping that, but so I've been editing since last Tuesday, and I don't know if I edited every day. Yesterday, I didn't get to edit much because I had to help one of my sons move, which took 8 hours out of my day, including drive time. Today, I just edited after NFL kickoff, probably starting about 1:30. And I don't know if I started that early. May have been a little later. But I've been editing about 2.5 hours today. And it seems to be going about a minute of editing. Let me say that again. About an hour of editing per minute of the movie. But having just said that, I've edited hopefully roughly 25, 26, 27 minutes. But I don't know if it feels like it's going faster than that because I don't think I haven't edited for 25 hours. So I don't know. And I don't know what the rule of thumb is kind of just to put together something. Obviously, again, no special effects, no crazy stuff. There will be some compositing, just some minor things, but nothing where we shot like 400 angles and I've got to decide what to shoot and this like cut, because that's purposely not the kind of movie that we want to make. We're just letting it play. Mostly, there's a couple motion shots, but it's mostly lockdown. Let the actors do their thing. Let the story tell itself without having to do like constantly moving or, going up and in and all these things, which don't make a bad movie. They can make a really good movie, but we did not have the time to do that. Frankly, that's what it boils down to. Anytime you're moving the camera while you're shooting, whether it's you're laying dolly track or you're doing a handheld thing or some sort of steady cam, or let alone like a crane or whatever, it just takes a lot of rehearsal time to get those movements right with the actors, to keep the framing right and the composition, let alone, setting it up. And that can easily, I would venture to say that could easily add 30% to the time that it takes you to shoot a scene. Of course, if you can, by doing that, you can make it into a oneer, then that could be different. But there's a lot of debates about if oneers are just, wow, look at that, I did a super cool oneer. I know Extraction had a super cool oneer, which was motivated, and the sequel did too. Getting a little off topic. So I've edited 17 scenes, and I feel pretty good. These last 3 I just did today. The middle one's a montage, so whatever. But the first one, I had a little continuity issue. I think I cut around it. The third one, I was super worried about a continuity issue, and I sort of solved it. There's some framing. I'm not going to really show you anything exactly, but I'll just show you. This is one of the scenes I edited. This is the scene with a big continuity issue. This is the one with a little one. And the only reason that this is here is that that's the one I was most recently previewing. So as you see, now that I've got it here, and I don't really want to show you anything, I'll just show you that right there. Well, but even then you can see some people there, so I don't really want to show you that either. You can see I've got all of the clips. I've got the B-raw, which is the Blackmagic, and then I've got the WAV files. And it's pretty cool. I don't know that you can do this in Premiere Pro. You can, in DaVinci though, you can bring them into this media pool, which I've frankly hadn't used or hadn't really need to use, but now that I do, it's pretty cool. So you can bring in all of the files, all of the B-raw files at the same time, or like all the ones from the scene 15, which is from here to here. And then you can immediately go like here, and then you can make a proxy, which I'm not going to get into all the details, but it basically makes a proxy file, which is like a half or maybe less than that, a quarter of the size. So because this is 6K, that will chop down the size quite a bit, make it easier to edit. And then supposedly when it's done, it will convert it back to the regular files. We'll see about that. The other thing you can do, you can bring in all of the WAV files at once and highlight them, and then right click on here. This isn't an ad for DaVinci Resolve, although it's pretty sweet. You can go to clip attributes, and then you can keep it stereo, but just tell it that both sides are on this one track that you recorded. Otherwise, it'll just come out of one speaker or the other. And then the other thing you can do, which again, I don't think I've used Adobe for 20 plus years and I've never seen this, but you can click on these two things and then you bring up the sync thing and you just say sync, which I won't do again. And you can just sync instead of having to bring them in and then right click on them and say merge clips or whatever you do in Premiere. So that's pretty cool. So I've got 15, 16, 17 here. And as you can see, like this, we've got one angle, we've got A, B, C. So we've got 3 angles in that. And then in 17, which is the one I just got done editing, we've got A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and then there's kind of an I, but well, no, I is this. So we've got about 8 angles there. And I think I solved the continuity issue. It's not the best. And of course there's a ton of stuff like sound effects and just regular sounds that I've gotten to add. So as you see over here, I've got the master. I just call it master, and I combine scenes 1 and 2 in a folder, and then 3 through 8. I don't know why these are not in order. Scene 14 I did all by itself. I wonder why those. I wonder if I can move that. No, I guess not. So, and I looked around YouTube and I tried to see kind of what what was the best way of doing it, best practices for editing a feature on Resolve, because obviously I haven't done it yet. And I did not get any answers. And so I'm just doing it, which seems to be a common sense way, making these files, making the folders and putting the files in them. And depending on how long the scene is, I'll probably put anywhere, one to maybe 3 or 4 scenes. Then I've got this montage kind of in the middle of the movie, which is about, 20 scenes, 25 scenes, which is all just one long one. And so I'll probably put all of those in one thing and then put that together. So that is kind of how the editing workflow is going. It's going pretty well. I wasn't, I don't know if it's the scene or the colors in the scene or just that it was the first scene I did, but I wasn't super wild about it. I'll obviously go back and revisit it. I feel like, I don't know, maybe it's just the nature of the story or something that it's starting to take shape now. What else? I was at some point, I'm going to do, just for the camera people out there who are a lot more interested in maybe the tech and the gear, I'm going to do kind of I don't know about a review, but sort of my experience with the camera, the lenses, and all the other stuff we use, just in case you are wondering. I'm not going to do that today. I need to go over to 2 of the houses that we filmed at, because I promised them I'd take some drone shots, not really as repayment, but just as a huge thank you. And it is raining right now. I'm hoping that it quits raining long enough, because it's like 60 today and the colors are pretty much at their peak or nearing their peak. And that's what the whole plan was, to get them near their peak. So even though it's not bright and sunny, I'm going to try to get them, because this whole week, I don't know that I would have time after work. And the weather's going to get pretty like in the 50s. And so I think by next weekend, it will be, I don't know if it'll be well past peak. And I don't know that you care about any of this. But so that's another thing I have to do. And I guess the last thing, just on a not really philosophical, but I enjoy writing. I enjoy it so much, even when it's a struggle. The production, I guess what I told someone is it's not really fun, but it's enjoyable, if that makes sense. There's probably the most sense of accomplishment during those 11 days of production. So you've got, I'll just say 2.5 years of writing, which is alternatively super frustrating, super, boing, you get an aha moment, the story changes, you're working with people, you're getting feedback, you're getting notes, you're starting over. So that is a long process for me. And I think if it wouldn't have turned out well, I said from the beginning, if this doesn't turn out well in terms of the screenplay, we're not going to make it. So that's over and done with. And then concurrent with the last 6 months of that, give or take 4 months, was pre-production. And I don't know, I'd have to watch, because that's kind of when I started this vlog. And I don't know that any of that I would consider fun. I don't think any of it was fun. Maybe enjoyable in little bits and pieces. We lost 2 cast members due to scheduling. We got 2 new ones, and I'm super happy with I haven't seen one of their performances yet, but very happy with the other. So yeah, that pre-production is just a lot of work. That would be what I would classify as just work. And I would not mind not doing that. On the other hand, I do enjoy knowing that it got done hopefully fairly competently, hopefully. And then we had the 11 days of production, which were frankly just a whirlwind. If I think back to each day, I clearly remember what we shot each day, especially because I put them in folders like that. So when I go to search for scenes, I don't have them in order. I have them in the folders, and then I can go look for them, which to me is a good way, because then you can think, yeah, we shot at his house and we had that scene, we had that scene, we had that scene. So that's worked out. But yeah, the 11 days was, I mean, it's trite to say or cliche that it kind of seemed like a dream. And I can just pick out parts that were just like when we went up on the train tracks, which I don't think I posted any pictures. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll post a picture. We went up on the train track to shoot a scene, and someone said they were doing work on it, so there wouldn't be any trains. But guess what? There was a train, and it wasn't like Stand By Me or something where we were in any danger. We were off at least 5 minutes before the train came. In fact, we were wondering if the train stopped because we saw the light when we were shooting, and it was way down there because it was a pretty much of a straight track, maybe a little bend, and we saw the light. And I don't even know if we heard the first whistle because it was at a distant place, but we got off, and it was a very steep embankment, which was kind of cool. So we got down and we just sat, and we were 20 to 35 feet off the track, so nowhere near it. And then the train went by, and just that time when the train went by, it was a very cool moment. I don't know why. I took some pictures, like I said, so I'll post those. But so, I mean, memories, amazing working with my sons and just everybody else. And so now we're in post-production, and what I was going to say like 10 minutes ago, wow, this is getting to be extremely long. But what I was going to say is that I feel like I don't want to rush through the editing. Not for one reason is that I don't want to rush through the editing and just, assemble it and say, oh gosh, look how quick I did it. Aren't I great? But the other reason is I really want to savor it. And again, maybe that is corny or something, but I'm limiting myself to, I think, 1 or 2 scenes a day, especially in the weekends. I mean, I could have got up this morning and edited for 2 hours, and after church, I could have edited all afternoon for 8 hours. And it's like 4:45 now, and I've worked for 2.5 hours or something. So, and maybe I'll edit a little bit more tonight, but it's enjoyable. I mean, there's the continuity things, and what I do, I'm rambling like crazy, but if we take 3 takes of something, I always start with a third take because it's typically the best, the last take, and then I work backwards as I see, we didn't really get this or that, or do we have another look or something like that. So I would say so far the editing process has been enjoyable and a little fun at times. Like we just had a couple scenes with a couple little moments that just made me smile, and there's nothing better than that. So I'm going to continue to savor this editing process, and I don't know at what point it'll get frustrating or I'll get upset. For some reason, we didn't have audio on a whole take, which was our final take of one of our scenes, which was disappointing. I've erased the original, but I looked back at both copies that I made right off the card, and there was nothing there. So kind of strange, but yeah, so I guess that's it. Just again, kind of the introspection and retrospection, not to steal the name of a certain book that certain person wrote, but this part I don't want to be done with, frankly. I'm sure my tune will change on that at some point. Check back in a week or two. But yeah, it's just, I almost find things to do so I don't have to edit because I don't want to go by so fast, which is silly. I'm like, I could watch a little football or I could watch a little of whatever. So yeah, that's kind of getting in the editor's head. I'm putting on my editor's cap, trying not to let my writer's brain or my director's brain or the producer's brain. I'm just trying to find the best moments and put them together. And obviously, editors that edit for a living and don't do anything else, I'm sure they would put it together different. I don't know if they put it together better because, again, there's not a lot of shots to choose from. But super enjoyable. I guess the point I was going to make is I can't imagine not editing my own movie. I guess I could, I don't know, someone put together a rough cut and then I watched it over his shoulder, her shoulder, but I don't know, control freak or something. That's it for today. I promise I will be back, and but it's just going to be editing for the next however long there is. So if there's anything that you'd like me to talk about that would help you on any phase of production, because I've been through them all, not distribution and all that yet, but at least the ones I've gone through, I'd be happy to address them from my perspective, my point of view, kind of the same thing. So just leave a comment and I check them all. I don't get many, but hey, all the more reason for you to leave one. See you later.